What is up, 7-3 fans? Welcome back to the 7-3 Garage. My name is Brandon. We are back finally after a good absence here. I have been working pretty hard behind the scenes to get this thing back to where it needs to be. Been working like crazy at work. So wanted to kind of go over a couple of different things here today and kind of update everybody and show you some cool stuff here. So I apologize for not being here, obviously. You know, life gets in the way, everybody knows that. However, I did start filming, I think it was about a month and a half ago. I had a friend of mine come over from the West Coast. I ended up purchasing a short block from him, and he drove the engine over here. We ended up taking it apart. I filmed all of it, but I never had the time to actually, put a video together. So that's what's gonna be going on today. So I'm gonna preface that video with just a little update here before we get started and all that stuff. So I actually have a list of things written down here so I don't forget. So I purchased the engine from a friend named Dave Beach. He is from the West Coast of Florida. He is a 7.3 guy, really knowledgeable. He worked with me. I got the short block for a very good price, so he was able to handle that for me. Drove it all the way over here, hung out. He stayed the night, and he left the next morning. So shout out to Dave. I appreciate it, man. You'll be seeing some more of him in the upcoming video. So real quick for the parts. So I told you I got the used short block. We believe it's from a Super Duty. I mentioned it in the video. We never ended up looking up to see what year the engine was, but I still have to do that. It doesn't really matter. I just want to see the year that the block was produced and casted. So real quick set of parts here that I'm getting, because I've had people have been asking me on Instagram, and I really haven't made a full list of things that I've purchased for this. So I ended up going with Manley connecting rods. It's a 4340 forged steel rod, so those are going to be in the bottom end. I went with Irate Diesel Performance's girdle, their engine girdle. For those of you that don't know what that is, basically it ties together all the main cap bearings, and instead of using a bolt, it utilizes studs. So you get a little extra bite on the main caps. It just helps with bottom end stability under high horsepower torque, high RPM situations. Just want to make sure the engine's going to be solid for that. I also ended up going with the Stage 2 Colt cam. Pretty cool cam. It's kind of aggressive, I guess, for the street, so I'm pretty excited. A friend of mine runs one on his truck with the setup that I'm kind of shooting for, and it sounds wicked when it idles, so very excited about that. Just some other things that I've had, or that I am putting back on the truck that I had before the break. Obviously ARP head studs, Comp 910 valve springs, and push rods that are the valve springs are shimmed 30 thousandths over. So add a little bit more seat pressure there for high RPM stuff so we don't float valves. As far as the heads go, I ended up having an issue. I sent the machine shop, which I'll get to in just a moment, but I ended up sending my heads down there. I was under the impression that they were okay. I had them pressure tested and decked about 3 years ago when I rebuilt the engine for the first time. And the machine shop called and said, hey, look, these are no good. We're not comfortable putting these on the truck, or excuse me, on the engine. I had no problem with that, so I ended up having to buy another set of heads, which were checked by the machine shop, and they're good. And they're actually a international head from a T444E, which is the casting number or the engine code for an actual international 7.3. So that's pretty cool, something a little bit different and unique. Another thing that I ended up deciding to do was O-ringing the head. So for those of you that don't know what O-ringing is, this was a new thing to me, and it was mentioned or suggested by a couple of other high horsepower 7.3 guys. But essentially what an O-ring in the head does is, if you can imagine the bottom side of a cylinder head for really any engine, what they do is they essentially machine around where the valves sit, and they basically stamp in a piece of wire, if you will, or a piece of, almost like a ring around each of the valves. So that way when they install the cylinder heads onto the engine block, when they torque everything down, it ends up biting into the gasket a little harder. So that helps with increased boost pressure, increased cylinder pressure. It's more of a supporting modification, so you don't blow head gaskets as easily. Basically keeps everything together. So that was suggested by a couple people. The truck, again, I don't plan on running nitrous or spraying nitrous in this thing anytime soon. Maybe on the dyno if I feel like it that day, if I want to ghetto fog it to see what it does. I won't have to worry about blowing a head gasket. Is the chance still there? Absolutely. But does it reduce the chances? Yes, it does. So pretty happy with that. Before we get into the last part here, I am having all my machine work and engine work done at a shop down in Hialeah, Florida. It's about an hour from my house. The name of the shop is Mesa Balancing. The gentleman that owns the shop, his name is Laz Mesa. He does anything from racing engines for drag cars, dirt track, offshore boats, anything like that. But Laz has been nothing but awesome with me. He's been very patient. I'm very new with all of this, so Laz, I appreciate it. Shout out to him and his shop. Check them out on Instagram, Mesa Racing Engines. Laz has been fantastic the entire time. He's answered all my questions. He's been very patient with me. So Laz, again, I appreciate it. But he's handling everything. I'm actually going to throw in some videos in this video with some of the things that he's done so far. So the engine is going to be 20 over. He suggested that so we can clean up the cylinder walls, re-hone, and make sure we got a nice tight seal in there. So I ended up going with a 20 over piston from Molly. And what else we ended up doing? I'm trying to think here. We did that. Laz decked. He decked the block. He decked the heads. Decking again, for those of you that don't know, decking basically makes sure that the surface that you're going to be applying a gasket to or whatever is absolutely zero and flat. There's no I don't know what the right word is. I can't even think of it, but it makes sure that everything is perfectly flat and straight, so that way when everything goes together, there's no chance of leaks, head gasket issues, things like that. So you guys will be seeing some of that in the upcoming video. Sorry, I'm looking at the engine, the block I have on the ground here, just trying to remember some things. So I think that's it as far as I know. But he line bored all the main caps to make sure everything was perfect and round and flat. So everything is going to be perfect, even better than factory. The crankshaft was balanced, and I was actually at the shop yesterday. He showed me a lot of what was going on, all the progress. So super happy. The whole rotating assembly, the bottom end is all together, and it looks amazing. So I'm very excited about this. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the videos that I did not put together. So enjoy. What is up, 7.3 fans? Welcome back to the 7.3 Garage. Brandon here. We got some pretty cool stuff going on today. Today is another Sunday. I guess Sunday seems to be the theme here. I got my buddy Dave Beach here from the west coast of Florida, and he brought us a gift here. We're going to figure out what year that motor is, but that is going to be the new block and crankshaft and all the other good stuff that goes with the project here. So we're actually going to get this engine out and get it loaded up onto the stand and get the other engine off onto the floor here just in a little bit. But Dave also has a sweet dually. He is part of the Cummins team. However, he is a 7.3 guy at heart. So let's ask him about his truck. But before we do that, I'm going to show you how Dave likes to party when he's behind the wheel of his 7.3. Okay, so new engine, or old engine I should say, we already have on the garage floor now. We're gonna go ahead and work on getting this out. For those of you that's seen the other video, I should say the first video when we actually got the engine out of the truck. If you haven't, go check it out. But we're kind of gonna do the same strategy. So we're gonna get the lift over. We already have chain hooked onto the new motor. So we're gonna get the chain off, or chain on, I'm sorry, and get it over. And we have the engine stand is waiting to receive the engine. So that's gonna be the strategy, but I'm gonna set the camera up so you can watch us do that.
Sever every tie, untangle every lie. Your words don't mean anything anymore. No, never satisfied. I won't compromise.
Okay, so motor's upside down. We got all the main cap bolts are loose here. We're about to get all this, all the main caps off so we can pull the crankshaft out, check all the bottom bearings, check all the bulkheads, make sure everything looks good. You guys saw the cam was out already. Just want to make a quick point here, just some technical knowledge here, and this is just something I've learned over the past couple of years messing with these things and just engines in general. So your main cap bolts and all your hardware basically have bearings that run along the side of the crankshaft. Usually V8s will have 4 or 5 main caps, usually all the way across here, usually 5. But the point I'm trying to make here is the more hold down bolts, the more surface area you have to actually grab, the more strength you have. So the difference between a head bolt and, say, a stud, for example, is a head bolt only pulls down basically, or a bolt essentially applies a clamping force down in one direction. When you have a stud on here, studs apply down and up essentially at the same time. So it's almost like a double the clamping force. That's why head studs are always better or more superior than a head bolt. So in this case, with this new engine here, I'm installing an engine girdle. Essentially what an engine girdle is, or the idea behind it,
is to, number one, strengthen the bottom end and hold the main caps together, and it actually utilizes an ARP main studs. So I'll have studs. So these, everyone can see, these are all bolts. There'll be studs here. So you have threaded studs that will have nuts that go on that you torque down. The stronger it is, the more boost you can run, the more horsepower, the more torque the bottom end can handle. With my engine, my main caps, we're all walking. I'll see when we get these off how these look. This is a stock truck. It's never seen fuel injectors. It's never seen tunes. So this motor is basically completely stock. It's never been hot rodded, essentially. So I'll have to show you guys the difference. I think I have a picture or something else, or I believe in the last video I did, I showed what the main cap mating surface looked like, and that's not good. So under boost pressure, main caps will actually walk. With heat and vibration, they move around. So I think that also contributed to some of the engine failure. We're gonna go ahead and get this out, and we'll be right back. Out comes the cam here. This is new to me. I've never taken my engine apart this far before, or the last one when I rebuilt it, I left everything. So basically, in order to get the cam out, you gotta get your lifters out. So you have 2 lifters, obviously, per cylinder. You have a nice hold down bolt and a bracket that goes over each one. Just use a nice little long magnet like I have over here. Just undo all the bolts and everything comes right out. Make sure, again, try to keep things labeled so you know where everything's at and keep things organized. Makes your life a whole lot easier. So that's really how it comes out. Basically up front here, you got two hold down bolts. I don't know what size these are, but rough, you got 2 hold down bolts here. Once you have those off, the whole cam will come out. So if you guys remember, my engine, this one that we have on the ground over here, actually had, I had roasted that cam gear. So it's nice to see a cam gear that's good. So this cam gear is ready to go. The cam gear we're keeping, obviously the cam we'll be not getting rid of, but kind of put to the side as a spare, because we're gonna have a brand new cam going in this thing. So don't wanna talk about that yet too much, but hopefully, I got my fingers crossed for having parts here today. If not, we'll try and have them this week, and I'll either do it in this video or a separate video, but we'll see how it goes. So we're gonna work on still getting some things out here. We gotta knock out this freeze plug. So the Super Duty trucks came with a freeze plug here because the OBS trucks had that drop-in tappet fuel pump, or tappet style fuel pump that ran off one of the cam lobes. So we gotta knock that out of there. Just some little odds and ends here, just kind of scrape some of the old gaskets off, get the main cap. I really wanna pull the crank out today so we can take a look at all the main caps, just roll the actual crankshaft around, make sure everything's good. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on that. Okay, so we have all the main caps off now. Next step, we're just gonna go ahead and lift this off here. Get it, we got some nice cardboard set up, so we'll get this so you can't see it. We're gonna get the cardboard, we got the cardboard's on the ground. We're gonna pull the crankshaft out and go from there. 1, 2, 7. Yeehaw. Nice and light. Oh, yeah. That thing's got, put it that way, is like 80 pounds or something?
Yeah, I forget exactly what they were.
It's heavy. It's definitely not light. Once you cover, this is probably, yeah. So we'll get a new one anyhow, so not too concerned about that. I'm gonna go ahead and take my gloves off and get these wiped out and show you what the inside of this looks like. Here is the main caps, all the main cap bearings. Everything in this engine so far, as we've taken everything apart, looks amazing. As you can see, what I was talking about before, I guess a couple minutes ago, all the actual mating surfaces. Sorry, let me see if I can get rid of this exposure here. All of the mating surfaces are nice and smooth. There's no roughness to them. They're all nice and smooth. All the main caps reflect, the actual main caps as well reflect the same thing. Mine were all nasty and roughed up. But you can see just by how all these bearings look that this truck has very minimal mileage. When you have started to get bearing wear, you'll start seeing copper material. That's what happened with my engine. You started to see all that copper starting to come through. So I'm sure all my cam bearings are destroyed. I think these are all messed up, but everything looks great so far. The last couple things we're gonna get out, so it's basically down to the bare block, are all these oil squirters. Again, we're gonna get those all out of the truck, or out of the engine, and back into a nice bag, so those things are ready to go when we come back. And then basically this is just the block at this point in time. Basically all the mechanical parts have gotten out. We're gonna put the crankshaft, just set it back in here and get the main caps just loose, so when we go to put it on the flatbed this Wednesday, they can take it down to the machine shop and start doing what they need to do. And last thing before we go back to getting this thing buttoned up here, everybody can see that freeze plug. That's the freeze plug I had pointed out, again, towards the beginning of the video, that needs to be removed in order for the oil drain plug to be put back in there for the T4 mount turbo kit. So we're gonna get that out, get this reassembled, and we'll go from there.
you can see from the deck surface of this 7.3, after we've taken a light skim cut, you can see how warped the deck surface is. And that's the reason why guys, after they have a burnt head gasket, they replace the head gasket and they have so many problems getting it to seal. These blocks have to be machined and made perfectly flat. Here's your final finished deck surface. Smooth as a piece of glass and perfectly flat.
Hope everybody enjoyed all that stuff. We had it was a lot of work to get everything done, but I wouldn't be able to do this without the help of everyone that's been involved. So thank you to everyone that's been involved with me. You know who you are. Really appreciate it. So a few other things before we go here. Want to give a shout out to Red's Garage, Aruba. Red is from the island of Aruba in the Southern Caribbean. He's representing the 7.3 guys down there. So shout out to Red. Stay rowdy. His truck's awesome. He's got a crew cab long bed dually that he's been playing around with. So check his page out. I will put his page down in the description below. So check him out. And last thing is here. For those of you that don't follow me on Instagram, I do post a lot of parts that I'm not using for sale. I have a lot of factory things that I'm trying to get rid of. So if there's anything anybody's interested in, I got factory rods, some factory pistons, just basic stuff, nothing crazy. I don't think I have too many performance things that I really have sitting around. So, but again, I got to get into everything and see what else I have. I've taken a lot of things off the truck, so just keep an eye out for that. If anybody's interested, I'm selling stuff for cheap, not trying to make a bunch of money here, but just trying to get rid of some stuff. So keep an eye out for that. I will be posting a video the next video as soon as possible once I have more info to show you guys and more updates, but I'm hoping the next couple weeks we'll have the truck ready to go here. I'm saying between 2 and 3 weeks before we even have the thing running. The CNC machine down at Mesa Balancing is tied up at the moment for the head, so Laz has all my parts. He's just waiting to have that machine open so he can handle the cylinder heads, get them O-ringed and get them onto the motor, and then the engine will be back here at the house. We'll definitely be making a video the day that it comes back, so stay tuned for that. That's all I got. Thanks for watching the 7.3 Garage. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. If you want to turn on that notification with the bell to see when I post new videos, I'm going to try and get a little more involved. I've just been so busy trying to get this thing back on the road, so stay tuned for all that stuff. That's all I got. My name is Brandon. This is the 7.3 Garage. We will see you next time.